Welcome to another episode of Live in Ketchikan. I'm your host, Abby Stevenson. Today we're talking to Danielle Duckworth, and we're here at Stomp the Stigma. Danielle, tell me, what is Stomp the Stigma about?
So Stomp the Stigma Recovery March and Resource Rally, and we're here to promote recovery, to break the stigma against the outlook of people who have substance abuse disorder or mental health disorders or alcoholism. We want to get the word out that yes, we have a problem in Ketchikan, but we have many solutions here also.
So what are some ways that people in the community can be involved with stomping the stigma?
Yeah, so we have Resource Rally that starts out. So if you have an agency who provides services for mental health issues or substance abuse disorders, you could plug in that way. Then at 12 o'clock, we have a recovery march. And so we're going to march from the plaza to the tunnel and back. And if you can't walk for some reason that far, you can be involved by driving by and honking and waving and just getting us all rallied up again. And then at 1 o'clock, we're going to have speakers who either are living in recovery themselves or have family members who have struggled with substance abuse disorder, and they're kind of telling their stories. So you can come and listen to that. If you feel like you have a story to tell, you could reach out to me and we could talk about having you as one of our speakers maybe for the next year. We have a Gone But Not Forgotten poster series that we highlight every year. And so these are posters with pictures and names of people here in our community who have been lost due to drugs or alcohol or suicide. And the first year we started this, we had 6 faces on these posters. We're in our 3rd year now. We have 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so inspiring, all of the work that you're doing, and thank you very much
Thank you.
for everything. Tell me, why is this cause personally important to you?
So I'm a member of recovery also. I found my path about 6 years ago, and much like the way substance abuse disorder works, relapse is part of my story. So I currently had 4 years on June 1st of this year. So that's pretty great. But so I'm a member of recovery. So it is a big deal for me. I was seeing that there was this stigma against people who have had these problems. And it's really easy to think of a drug addict as, someone who's on the street or sleeping under a bridge. But you don't realize, or people sometimes don't realize, that just normal, everyday, seemingly functional people are struggling with these issues too. So my friend Christine Fury and I are pretty passionate about speaking out about our stories. And so it started by having a conversation like, let's just have a recovery march and show people we're loud and proud. And it's kind of grown into what it is now.
Yeah, I was really blown away when I saw how many people are here and all of the different entities that are involved. Has anybody partnered with you on this?
Yeah. So, oh my goodness. So I work at residential youth care, and a couple of years ago when I first started to talk to my boss about getting involved in the recovery community, he was really supportive in being public about my story. And so RYC has been super supportive, and Dustin is always encouraging me to think big, and so that's for sure one of them. Renee at the Safety Specialists, I have gotten close with her. We sit on what used to be the Substance Abuse Task Force, which we now rebranded to PEERS, which is Prevention, Intervention, Recovery, Education, and Support.
Okay.
And so she's always a big advocate for us girls who have gone through hell and back, really, and found our way out, and encourages us to get out there and tell other people our stories so that we can help them also. My family, of course, the list is huge, right?
Yeah, that's wonderful to have that network.
My husband is also in recovery, so we share the struggle but the solution also. So I think that is a big deal for the both of us also.
Absolutely. And do you feel there is a stigma in Ketchikan for those in recovery or with mental illness?
For sure, yeah. And I don't know if it's that people have something against the recovery or if it's just that they don't know. the other side.
Right.
You know, it's really easy to see the ugly side, but you might not realize that the coworker that you've worked with for 15 years has 25 years sober.
Right.
So I don't even know if it's so much a stigma against recovery as much as it's the stigma against the problem. And so people are hesitant to speak out about their recovery because it means admitting they were an alcoholic or they were an addict.
Yeah. And why is it called Stomp the Stigma?
You know,
Why are we stomping?
I always think, well, it's kind of more abrupt than walking, you know?
Yeah.
It kind of like sets a different precedence. And also we're in the rain boot place of the world, you know?
Yeah, that's cute.
So
Yeah.
the whole boot logo was kind of inspired from the likelihood that we would be walking in the rain,
Yeah.
marching in the rain, and by the grace of God, it is not raining today.
I know,
So,
there was even a rainbow today.
yay, I didn't know that.
Yes. So how many years has this event taken place in this community?
This is the third year.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 years. And when we first started, I said first annual. And I had a lot of people say, you don't really say first annual when it's the first year. And I'm like, we are setting the precedent
Yeah.
for what's to come.
Well, Stomp the Stigma itself is a national event, right?
It sort of is. When
Okay.
you look at stuff that, like you can Google search Stomp the Stigma, and
Yeah.
a lot of it has to do with mental illness.
Yeah.
And so I didn't ever find anything that was recovery related.
Got it.
So it started, you know, recovery for me, for my story, was from substances.
Got it.
But when we were getting started in the planning, I didn't want to leave out the mental health part of it too. So,
Yeah.
you know, we joined that. So, but a lot of the Stomp the Stigma events that you can find online or across the nation is really around suicide prevention and mental illness.
Yeah. So this event plays an important role on today and for the month of September. Other days throughout the year, where can people go to get the resources they need outside of this event?
Oh goodness. So, well, Stomp the Stigma has a Facebook page.
Okay.
So you could reach out on there, and I get all
What
of
is
those.
that Facebook page called?
Stomp the Stigma.
Just Stomp the
Yep.
Stigma. Got
Yep.
it.
Or I'm Danielle Duckworth. I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
But as far as like agencies available, there's so many more resources than people realize. KIC Behavioral Health has behavioral health and substance abuse treatments. Aquila Gateway has the Car House, which is an inpatient treatment facility. They also have intensive outpatient classes you can take. That was part of my road. RYC has both behavioral health and substance abuse treatment for youth, which a lot of people don't know. The Wellness Coalition has a lot of information on different places that you can go for help. I'm trying to think of who else I have here. Community Connections. Daryl Nichols is here with the DARE program. He's a great resource.
So there's lots of resources in the community.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and so I think the biggest thing is just reaching out and asking someone.
Yeah.
And I'm always big on, I'm not a professional. I have no like education, formal education.
Right.
But I can tell you my story, and I can tell you the resources that I used. And if there's something that isn't working for you that I used, I can connect you with someone else who knows a different way.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story
Thanks.
and sharing with us today. You are an inspiration to me, and I'm sure many others in the community.
Thank
and
you.
thank you for organizing this wonderful event today. We look forward to the march and
Yes.
seeing some of the speakers.
Thank you so much.
A couple of our main things that we were sharing with the public was our community resource guide. It's our Ketchikan 123.
Yep.
That has, like I say, kind of the overarching view of our community. So we have support groups, faith groups, options for treatment. We have information regarding clinics and different healthcare providers, mental health providers, and some general health and wellness like our rec center, our library, and some other outreach programs.
Yep.
So that's something that we are working also on getting on an online portal.
Yep.
And then we have our newsletter, which just sort of explains the community events that we do,
Yep.
what we're up to, what our task forces are doing.
I see people can sign up for the newsletter
Yeah,
as
folks
well.
can sign up to receive our newsletter. And that's also just a way for us to keep in touch with folks and be able to collaborate with them down the road.
Yeah.
We have our suicide prevention resources here. We
I like
have
this
some.
book, The Amazing Teen Brain. It's pretty cool.
That is extremely informative and very helpful.
Yeah.
Not just if you work with teens or if you have teen children of your own, but just for anybody, kind of understanding. We have these talk now, talk often, talking with teens, so they're talking points, conversation starters, I say, but it helps you have a good, genuine conversation with youth. We have some of our You're Cared About cards. It directs folks to the care line, suicide prevention line.
Cool.
We've got
And
some
what do we
coloring books here.
Okay.
We have some drug disposal kits. It's for prescription drugs, so they can safely dispose of them. And then we also have a sign up for Narcan training.
Wow, you guys have so many things here.
We
So
have a
many
lot
resources.
available. And one thing too we're highlighting is our mental health first aid training, which we took a little bit of a break, obviously, with COVID and not having trainings within enclosed facilities, but we're going to start picking that back up again, and we should be able to have it virtually as well.
Okay.
So that's on the forefront.
Wow.
A reminder about vitamin D and the importance of vitamin D here in a
Especially
rainforest.
In Ketchikan.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Some Caroline bracelets, I see.
Caroline bracelets, those went quick. We've got some stickers. We're highlighting as well our local Cares line,
Yep.
which is new and 24/7 available, licensed professional counselors. So,
And
yeah.
September is Suicide Prevention Month, right?
Suicide Prevention
so
Month.
That makes sense why
Yes.
we have all of these things.
As well as Recovery Month.
Yes,
Yeah.
and Recovery Month,
Yeah.
which is Stomp the Stigma, what's going on here.
Yeah,
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you
Yeah.
very much, Shanetta.
you bet.
They're giving out these Narcan kits
Okay, yeah,
to prevent overdose.
yes, very important.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm here with JD Martin from Wish. JD, thanks for joining us. What is Wish all about?
So Wish is a nonprofit here in Ketchikan, and our mission statement is to create a community in which everyone has the opportunity to live violence-free, which I know is a mouthful, but we do a bunch of stuff. So people are typically familiar with our shelter services.
Okay.
So we do have a shelter where people can come and stay if they're experiencing some form of violence.
Yep.
And there are lots of services through the shelter, and you don't need to stay in the shelter to access them. So we have a legal advocate, so if you need help, filing for divorce or getting a protective order, she can help you with all of that. We also have a counselor who people can come see for free if you've experienced violence, and it can be at any point in your life. So even if you experienced some violence as a kid and now you're an adult and you just need to talk to somebody about it, you can come see. Her name is Megan. She's wonderful.
Awesome.
And we also it's sort of if you've experienced violence, we'll help with all kinds of stuff. It's what do you need? If you need help, getting on food stamps, or you need help finding housing or employment or childcare, we'll help with all of that. And so people are pretty familiar with that. That's our shelter services, and they are available to everybody. I know that there's been some confusion, but men are welcome, women are welcome.
Because WISH stands for Women in Safe Homes, right? But
It
it's
does,
for everyone.
But it's for everyone. So, yeah. So I work in our education department, and we do a variety of things in our education department. We do safe and unsafe touch presentations with kids as little as preschool all the way up through high school. We have conversations with teens around, what does consent look like? What is a healthy relationship? What are the dynamics of abuse? And, connect them with local resources so if they are experiencing something, they can get help. And that's work that we do in the school. People might be familiar with our after-school programs where we're the ones who host Girls on the Run, which is a running program for elementary school girls, but it also teaches them a lot of life skills around, self-esteem and leadership and teamwork and friendship. And we have one for boys too that's called Let Me Run, where they train for a 5K, but they also have a lot of conversations about, how do you cope with big emotions, and what do you do if you're getting bullied, and how do you stand up for your friends, and these sort of really important emotional conversations.
Right.
And so that's some of the work that we're doing. On the more adult side, we have an exciting program here I'll show you. And so this is our Green Dot Bystander Intervention Program.
Okay.
And so what Green Dot is, it's a framework where we help people think through what they can do if they're seeing something that makes them uncomfortable. So I think we've all been in a situation, maybe in your home or maybe just out in the community, where you see something happening and you go, oh, this makes me uncomfortable, I want to do something, but I don't know what to do. And so it's like there's no shaming because we don't always know what to do. But this program, we talk through like, why don't we do stuff? Like we all have barriers. It could be like, oh, you know, this is my mom's friend and I don't feel comfortable doing that, or I don't know this person, or I don't want to make a scene. And so we talk through like, why don't we stand up? And then we talk through different ways you can safely intervene, because it doesn't always have to be like super aggressive, like stop that right now.
Yeah.
Like there are more delicate ways we can get involved. And so this programming is all about having those conversations. And so you get to have conversations about how can we intervene in a place that's like really safe, to you know, have that dialogue, and you get to like practice it with other people. And it's really a framework, so it's super adaptable. So we don't go through like specific, like, oh, if you see this, you should do this. Right. It's more like, here's a bunch of ideas, we'll talk through them.
The conversations are so important, you know? People just need to have a conversation and know they can come to a safe place, I think, to have those conversations about what to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, awesome. I was reading the other day that there has been an increase in gender-based violence due to COVID because people are staying at home more.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen an increase in your services during the pandemic?
So what we actually saw, which was worrying, was that we actually saw a decrease in the services of in our shelter, and we think that it's a lot of when someone's living in an abusive relationship, like they need to have an opportunity to leave. So it's like if you're home all the time, you might not be able to make that phone call.
Right.
You might not be able to go outside. So we were very worried about people being stuck in that situation, and we were trying to do some messaging around, you know, if you see something, say something, you know, call, check in on your neighbors, those sort of things. And then as the quarantine started to end, we did see an uptick in our shelter services. And it's like, I don't want anyone to experience violence, but I'm always glad to know that people are coming out and getting those services that they need.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of our services are accessible, even if you don't want to stay in shelter. Like if your home life is okay, but you're still experiencing something and you need to come in and talk, like you can. Those sort of things too. So.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, JD, and
thank you
for all the work that you're doing in the community.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Started here. Thank you guys for marching with us today. It was so nice out earlier, and when I got to the door and it was pouring down rain, I thought, oh goodness. And hardly anybody stopped at all. We all just like went out there, got soaking wet, another year in a row, and here we are. Thank you guys for being here. My name is Danielle Duckworth. I am a member of long-term recovery, and I'm so proud of that. The things that you go through when you're out there in active substance abuse disorder is not something that gets talked about very openly, very often. But I feel like this year, 3 years in a row now having this event, that's starting to change. And people are not only speaking out about what they've been through and what they've come through, but family members are speaking out and starting to get real about the things that were going on in their families that they were maybe afraid to talk about before. I wouldn't be here, I wouldn't be standing here today without the family that lifted me up or the fellowship that was there when I needed them to teach me what it was like to live a sober life again. And the recovery community here in Ketchikan is so strong. And if you have a problem, or you think you have a problem, or you have a family member that needs some help, there are all the faces here are friendly faces. Ask us anything. Facebook friend us, send us messages in the middle of the night. You might be surprised at how many people will respond to you at 1 in the morning when you need help. We have excellent treatment facilities and agencies in Ketchikan that are also available to help. And with that, I want to introduce you to my friend Annie here, who's a little nervous, so give her some love. Woo!
Hey, it's a good turnout this year. Why don't you guys give yourself a round of applause? So I'm Annie. I struggle with mental illness. I am an addict and I'm an alcoholic, and also a grateful, recovering codependent. And so I moved to Ketchikan, and I found my way here. And I just wanted to say that I'm really grateful for the community here, for always supporting each other in loving ways, having compassion, and doing things like this for people that struggle, because we can't do it alone. So I grew up in a trailer park in Spokane, Washington, and I have an alcoholic mother who's still out there drinking somewhere. I have a father that's a normie, and they separated when I was really young. And what I learned in the household as a child was it was okay to fling beer bottles at each other and scream and yell and carry on, and so I kind of went with it. So I discovered my disease pretty early on, and I hit the streets at about 12 years old, thinking that I knew better than my parents, and I could do it better than my parents. And I had a lot of struggles. I was in and out of institutions. I drank excessively. I started experimenting with drugs really young. After my parents split up and my dad remarried, I resisted accepting the new woman in my life. And she was actually a really positive role model. And now I show her nothing but respect and gratitude, because the path that she chose for herself in her mid-30s was to go back to school and do something with her life and support her family in the best way possible. And that's actually what I'm doing now. So I tell her, I thank her every day for that. So I was in a lot of therapy when I was a kid, and I was also institutionalized in a hospital on the 7th floor Sacred Heart Medical Center for being a pretty disruptive youth. They experimented with medications that never really worked. I stayed there for a really long time, and finally I ended up being a ward of the state. And after that, I took off again and I hit the streets, and got a lot worse. I ended up with an injury. I had an orthopedic boot on. I had to get screws put in my ankle, and found out I was pregnant all in the same time that I was homeless, and I was staying in a youth shelter in Spokane. And I started to kind of realize that maybe perpetuating the things that I was taught as a child was not the way to go. So I went and got my GED. I went to parenting classes. I participated in an outpatient program for youth for chemical dependency and mental health that was geared more towards natives, because I know what I look like, but I'm actually half native, believe it or not. So I discovered a lot about myself there. Whether I realized it at the time when I was 15, 16 or not, I really learned a lot. And I guess I saved it. I stored it away, and hit the streets again after my son was born. I ended up signing over parental rights to a really awesome Christian couple that lived just north of Spokane, and it was a really good decision. It was a good decision for him. It was a good decision for me, because the decisions I made after that decision were terrible decisions, and he did not need to live through that. So I ended up kind of succumbing to my disease. I just decided to go along with the ride, so I chose to become a commercial fisherman, because that was a place where I was understood, and all my recklessness and degradation was the fishing industry. So I did that for many, many years too. I've been in the Dutch Harbor Fishermen in the police blotter I don't know how many times, and thought it was funny for a while, and then again I had a realization that really this isn't fulfilling my potential. I have a lot of potential, and I connect with people really well, so I need to use that to my advantage, to their advantage, like bring people together. So I retired from the commercial fishing industry. I settled down into a job in Sitka, Alaska, in hospitality, and that was following a marriage. I got married at sea, actually, to the love of my life, Philip Stromstad, who actually succumbed to his disease. He died March 31st of 2011 from complications from type 1 diabetes and IV drug use. He had his third pulmonary embolism, and he collapsed in his bedroom and was found by his mother. And there again was like another moment of clarity. Like I lost, we were like Sid and Nancy. That's the way we looked at it. Like he was Sid and now he's gone. Now what do I do? Like I don't have an identity now. So I went to Sitka. I got remarried within 3 months of moving there. And I was going to save Kevin Willman too. I was going to make up for losing Phil, not being there for Phil, not fixing Phil. So I married an identical person to him, and I worked really hard at fixing him. And when I realized that I couldn't fix him because I was in and out of prison and I was using massive drugs and drinking every day, I had to walk away. And that was a really important moment in my life, to actually walk away and try to get better. Like I've never done that before. I have felt so sorry for myself through my whole life, and I've used it as an excuse to do terrible things. I walked away and I got clean and sober for a little while anyway. And so fast forward a little bit, me and Kevin are pretty good friends, but I have to keep my distance. We're still in a small town, so we see each other all the time. We're practically neighbors. And I saw him one day, and at this point I'm about 3 months pregnant with my little boy Berkeley. And I give him a hug, and I'm like, how are you doing? And he's so excited. He's going to go home and watch a Yankees game, because that's his team, and he's going to play Scrabble with his roommates, and everything's good. And I'm like, I really love you, and I'm glad you're doing well. And he said the same to me. And the next day I got a call from the hospital, and they said Kevin was there. So he never goes to the hospital. He doesn't admit when he's sick or anything like that. So when I went there, I ended up having to sign papers because he used me as his next of kin, and I had to pull the plug on my second husband. And this one, he had a heart attack due to complications from methamphetamine and amphetamine overdose. So I'm pregnant. I know, like my go-to is I'm gonna get, really drunk, and I'm gonna feel really sorry for myself, and this always happens to me. Why me? But I didn't. I persevered through that. I had a beautiful boy, Berkeley Michael Souza. He was born November 16th of 2016. And I tried really hard to do it alone. I wanted so bad to be sober and be okay with being sober and be healthy. And, I had these moments in my life where I was really, really happy. And I just couldn't hold on to it. And what I realized in the end was the key component to maintaining that peace of mind was being connected with others and accepting reality for what it is. And the reality of it is I will always struggle with my addiction. I will always struggle with mental illness. Others don't, others do. People fall, they relapse. It's just a part of life and being human. Like, I just realized that I really wanted to pick up, the fallen. I didn't want to continue being the fallen, but not before an epic relapse. I mean, it was of epic proportions. So I'll spare you the details. So at this point, my son's father has filed a restraining order against me, totally valid, and I've lost my job, I've gone to jail, I've got a couple open cases. It's not looking good for me. And this is all last year. So I spent the springtime living in my Toyota 4Runner and doing all kinds of terrible things and just on a path of destruction. And I'm driving my 4Runner one night. I had picked out this spot above this ravine and I was like, that's where I'm gonna say goodbye. And I stopped at this scenic spot and it was just after dark. And I stopped at Whale Park and I was like, I looked skyward through my moonroof and I go, if this is not what you meant for me to do, then you need to give me a sign right now because I don't know what else to do. And he did. He sent some headlights around the next turn. And instinctively, I flashed my high beams at that car. And you know what that car was? It was a cop car. There's your sign. So I was really cooperative through the whole thing. The officers, they thanked me through the whole booking process. They were like, thank you so much, Ms. Morris, for being such a joy to pull over and give a DUI to. We're not going to tow your car, but just thank you for everything. And so I sat there and I sobered up a little bit. And then I made bail, and then I wasn't so sober, and I got another DUI within about 4 to 6 weeks. And when Sergeant Cranford opened my car door, because I was actually crawling in the back seat, but the keys were in the ignition, so haha, had that coming. I remember this great feeling of relief. It was overwhelming, like, this has got to be the end of the road. I'm out of bail money, right? So I took that moment. That was July 11th of 2019. And when I realized there was just no going back, I started working really hard at getting into a treatment center. I owned every single violation that I was charged with. I took full accountability, and I worked tirelessly to get myself into a program that could help me. And it was a good thing to be completely accountable and to accept my reality as the reality was before me. I had no other choice. So the recommendation from Search Behavioral Health was actually Car House of Ketchikan. And I thought, no, not an Aquila program again. No, I can't do it. Because I did stepping stones up north, and I did 9 months, and I was treatment completed, and I thought it was fixed then. Ha ha. So I got here, and I'm so grateful. There was this one really remarkable moment when I arrived, and that was Estelle Cowie giving me the option to continue doing what I was doing and just being really compliant and jumping through all the hoops, because I knew that worked, right? Like, that would get me out of all this trouble that I had gotten myself into. So I knew that was an option. And she said, or you could just rest. And so I took her up on the offer, and I was like, maybe I should really, truly accept what's going on around me and accept the consequences for all the terrible behavior, maybe I should really reflect, and I did, and it was incredible. I had an amazing experience in inpatient this was my 4th one, mind you. I got to meet Lance Ho, who was my counselor, and he walked me through the whole process, and then I had Carol Kramer, who walked me through the outpatient process, and I am still engaged in services through Gateway, and I highly recommend it. I still see mental health, I still see substance abuse therapy, I'm still connected to the Alcoholics Anonymous program here. I take every suggestion that's laid out to me and I give it a shot and see if it works for me. And there's some things that don't necessarily work. But at least I tried something different, and that's what's important. If you know that the end result of doing the wrong thing is just going to be more heartache, then why choose it? Why not take a healthy risk and try something new for yourself? Why not try to support others as they support you when you're not doing so well? And so at this point, over a year clean and sober, completely clean and sober, I have a wonderful job at the Landing Hotel. They've been open arms since December when they hired me. I couldn't thank them enough for all the love and all the support from them. I'm a part-time college student. I'm going for accounting and business. I was a straight A student my first semester back in school during the summer. Anytime I can be of service to anybody, I try to do that. I'm helping my roommate raise her 11-year-old boy, and I'm there as much as I possibly can be for my little boy in Sitka, and then my 21-year-old that is in Spokane, Washington. I'm a good daughter, I'm a good friend, I'm a good mother. I just try to do the next right thing, and the rewards that I've reaped are so unbelievable. Like it brings me to my knees sometimes. Sometimes I just have to cry about how grateful I am. And so every single day that I open my eyes up and I'm sober and I have all my bills paid and I know I have love and support and I can be there for others is just, it's a blessing. And so I just wanted to say that, you know, it's possible. I mean, I could tell you some more stories, I really could. You know, I've been in the gutter, I've been in and out of prison, I've been in and out of psychiatric facilities, the whole 9 yards. I've done it all, I really have, and that's why it's so important for me to talk to you guys about. Anybody is capable of better things. Make the choice, reach out and get the support that you need because it'll work. It will work. And forgive yourself. When you struggle, just forgive yourself because that's all you can do. And pick yourself back up by your bootstraps. Call a friend to help you if you need to, because you're worth it. Every single one of you is worth it. Thank you.